This Warmaster battle report will showcase two armies fighting a scenario from the new Warmaster Compendium. The theme for this battle is the invasion of Estalia by the forces of Araby from Warhammer history. For this battle, the Empire army will represent the Estalians. The Empire troops will have to move swiftly across the board and protect their wagons from the marauding Araby army. We choose a 1000 point army which focuses on infantry and cavalry. And in this scenario, the Empire are the defenders. So now let's look at the army of Araby. This army is also 1000 points. It has a strong force of infantry supported by knights, flying carpets and elephants. And their goal will be to attack the Empire army and loot the wagons. Let's take a closer look at the troops. The minimum purchases you must take in 1000 points are 2 units of halberdiers and 2 units of crossbowmen. We can add 1 unit of flagellants, 3 units of knights, a unit of pistoliers, 2 stands of skirmishers to bolster the infantry, 1 general, 1 hero, and a wizard. Breakpoint is 5. Now let's have a look at the Araby army. There is a minimum of 2 spearmen, but we take 3. We add the minimum 2 archers, 1 unit of knights, a unit of camel riders, a unit of elephants, and a unit of magic carpets. We must have 1 general. We add 1 hero and 1 wizard. Breakpoint also 5. Finally, no Araby army is complete without a unit representing the wizard's mirage spell. In this scenario, the Empire player is trying to move his wagons off the board while the Araby player is trying to stop him. We set up the scenery to represent the scenario map. There are 3 hills, 3 woods and a road. We've also added some farmland to show where the wagons are headed. Every turn, the wagons can automatically move along the road 20 centimeters towards the farms. Alternatively, an Empire character can issue an order to a wagon and move it in any direction. As we are using 1000 point armies instead of 2000 points, we are using half the number of wagons suggested, so 3 instead of 6. And this is the board from the Araby player's point of view. The Empire defenders deploy first. They place 2 wagons on the centre point of the board, surrounded by cavalry. These wagons will try and make it off the board by the farms. The third wagon is placed 40 centimeters from the opposite board edge and will try and make it off in that direction. It is guarded by the infantry and a hero. Here is the Empire General's thoughts on deployment.
Okay, so my tactics for this game, I've split my baggage train up. Plan is 2 of them will head down the road that way and this one is going to come back up the road this way trying to get off. Largely to try and force Ian to split where his troops are going. I've basically put the infantry surrounding this one just to give it a bit of protection while it tries to make its way off with the hero leading them. And over here I've put all the cavalry around the other 2 wagons in the baggage train with my general to try and get orders off when needed for these cavalry here, so I've got my best leader there. The flagellants to help support, maybe take on the elephants or something, and then the wizard basically help out wherever he can.
The Araby army then deploys in their ambushing position. Magic carpets, infantry and elephants line up opposite the wagons in the centre. More infantry and the cavalry try to head off the wagons further down the road. while the camel riders deploy opposite to try and intercept any wagons that get through. So these are the Araby general's plans. Okay, well, my plan is essentially to send the elephants straight into his cavalry to get rid of them and hopefully catch the tail end of the wagons before they can get too far down the road. I've got a backup infantry and cavalry brigades to head the wagons off before they can get towards the village. And over on the far side I've got a lone unit of camel riders. They operate well outside of characters' normal close proximity, so they don't suffer the negative or orders like other units do for range. So they're going to try and head off the enemy from the other side. And then my ace in the hole and my flying carpets, who can move pretty much anywhere and intercept any lone wagons that may to slip past my other troops. So that's the plan. Let's see how it works. The defenders go first. The Empire hero successfully orders his lone wagon back down the road towards the nearest board edge. The other two wagons automatically move along the road towards the farms, and the general orders the cavalry to accompany them. The wagons still have a fair way to go before they are safe, however. The Empire wizard moves into range to cast a spell on the elephants, but his magic is not strong enough this turn. Here are the general's thoughts.
Okay, so over here I've basically moved the wagon down once down the road, heading back off this way. I'm aware that the carpets could basically shoot up that wagon, so I've formed this ring of units around them just to give that wagon a bit of protection so he can't shoot them up, and the only way he can really get them is to charge in there. Over here, everybody sort of successfully moved. The wagons came up the road. The cavalry either side have maintained their protection either side of that. The flagellants have turned to face back down the road in order to protect them from anything that might come from over here, and they're carrying their plod up the road this way.
The Araby army responds by moving up the infantry and elephants on the left, while the camel riders move forward into shooting range. The trap is starting to close, but not quick enough. Back to the general. Right, so the Araby turn one didn't go spectacularly. I managed to move up the infantry and elephant brigade with the hero a couple of times just to stay out of initiative range so they can shoot at the flagellants. The flying carpets homed back towards the wizard but didn't move any further this turn. The general did manage to order up the camel riders, but only one order. He then tried to move up the infantry brigade, failed his order, so they moved half rate and stayed there. So in magic, the wizard tried to summon a mirage in the road in front of the wagons but failed, and we'll move on to shooting now. The camel riders shoot at the nearest unit of knights, driving them back and confusing them. The archers also shoot at the flagellants to no effect. Ignored by the Araby army, the Empire hero orders the wagon further along the road. Meanwhile, the flagellants are sent forward in a mad charge into the camel archers. The other two wagons continue their move along the road towards the farms, while the general orders the cavalry to form a protective screen. And as we can see, the Empire infantry is now very far from the action. The Empire wizard manages to cast a weird enchantment on the elephants, which counteracts their terror and reduces them to half-rate move. The flagellants do surprisingly well against the camel archers. They kill 2 stands and suffer 1 lost stand in return, and drive the camel archers back.
Okay, so quite a good turn for me, turn 2. My protective corridor here moved up with the wagon in the middle, so that's ready to roll off next turn. Up here in the centre, these guys were shot by the camel riders and were confused, driven back and confused. so they did nothing this turn. However, everything else sort of has moved round to basically to perform this protective screen here, to prevent these from sort of headlong charging into here. The flagellants, which were here, I've moved around and then charged into the camel riders, and I got quite lucky and ended up killing 2 stands of them. So that was my... oh no, sorry, there was Weird Enchantment was the other thing, which was cast on the elephants over here. So quite a successful turn, really.
At the start of turn 2 for Araby, the camel riders wisely used their initiative to evade away from the flagellants. The magic carpets used their home back move to move closer to the general. The Araby hero orders the infantry and elephants 3 times, getting a flank charge with the infantry on a unit of knights. The magic carpets are ordered to fly over the Empire lines to attack the wagons, but the rest of the Araby army is slow to react and moves very little. The camel archers can only shoot at flagellants with little effect. However, the magic carpets easily destroy one wagon with their shooting. We fight 1 round of combat with the Arab infantry against the knights. It looks like a stalemate, but more is to come. Alright, so this is the end of turn 2 for the Araby army. Not a brilliant turn again, the dice aren't really following statistical averages for me, but there you go. So the camel riders evaded out of the way of the flagellants because they're not going to win that fight if they keep going against them. The elephants that were enchanted by the wizard moved with the infantry, and I managed to get 3 orders off with the hero, move them up 3 lots of 10 centimetres into charge range of the pistoliers and cavalry, which is the best place for them. The infantry brigade, archers and spearmen actually managed to flank charge this unit of knights. Unfortunately, I rolled well below average and failed to even kill a stand. So although I won the combat with my supporting troops, I had to then fall back, which I did onto the nearby hill. The magic carpets fared slightly better. They moved in front of the enemy army and gunned down one of the wagons, so that's gone now. Unfortunately, the cavalry failed their order and were stuck up on the hill, and the infantry failed their order and they are stuck in the valley, while the wizard failed to get his mirage spell off again, and the infantry archers only managed to drive back the cavalry with the general a couple of centimetres. I did manage to jump on a couple of his characters though and force them to join units, so that's a good thing. But that's it for turn 2. Of course, infantry charging cavalry in the flank can now fight 2 rounds of combat. They do so and end up beating the knights. They then fall back to safety on the hill. With nothing to oppose him, the Empire hero easily orders off the first wagon, scoring 3 victory points. He then starts to reorganise the infantry to send them back up the road towards the fighting. Meanwhile, the lone surviving wagon continues to trundle towards the farms. The wounded Empire Knights charge the magic carpets, while the Knights who have the Sword of Fate charge the elephants. The 3rd unit of Empire Knights charge up the hill and attack the Arab Knights. However, the Arab cavalry, with their Sword of Might, are more than a match for the Empire Knights and drive them back. The magic carpets are driven back by the other Empire Knights for no loss, whilst the Knights with the Sword of Fate overcome their terror and manage to kill 2 elephants for no losses. At the end of the turn, we can see the Empire in a very strong position.
Okay, so this is after my turn 3. At the end of Ian's turn 2, we realised that the combat that took place here between his infantry and archers and my cavalry when he was in my flank, he actually could have a second round of combat. So we fought that, and he destroyed a stand, pushed me back, and then he retreated back up onto the hill here. In my turn, I got a charge off with some knights on his elephant. They initiative charged them. this unit of knights initiative charged these flyers. Over here, my knights charged up the hill, round here and up the hill into his knights, and then the wagon moved on with the pistoliers falling back to protect them. I tried weird enchantment on the elephants again, but failed that. Over here, the wagon moved off, and then he failed the next order, so this unit here of 2 moved up onto the road to make contact with these and form a brigade. In the combats, some terrible luck on Ian's part. He had over 30 attacks in 2 rounds of combat and managed to only inflict 2 wounds on my knights. In reply, I killed 2 of his 3 elephants there. He did have some more luck in the other 2 combats though. His knights rolled back mine to the point where I've only got a single wound left, and this flank is now looking a bit exposed here from his knights. I actually won the combat here, but because they were flyers, I couldn't pursue them, and so repositioned to basically block their advance into these knights, and that was my turn 2.
To save the elephant, a unit of archers and spearmen desperately charge the knights in the flank. The magic carpets home back again towards the general. They are then ordered into a better position to shoot at the pistoliers, while the remaining spearmen desperately try to catch the wagon in the distance. Can the forces of Araby make a comeback? The magic carpets get off to a poor start, failing to kill any of the pistoliers with their shooting. However, the wizard comes through and his mirage spell is successfully cast to block the exit. In combat, the Arab knights successfully overcome their Empire counterparts and move closer to the enemy. The Arab archers manage to defeat the Empire knights with their timely flank charge, and although the last elephant is killed, the archers go on to pursue into the flank of another unit of knights, which they also successfully kill. The situation now looks quite dire for the Empire. Okay, so this was Araby turn 3, and we had a bit of a reversal of my bad luck from previous turns. Orders didn't go great. The only unit which I managed to order with the magic carpets, which I moved up to the pistoliers. However, initiative saw me charge the cavalry which was attacking my elephants in the flank with my infantry brigade, who are currently here. In shooting, the magic carpets only managed to drive back the pistoliers a couple of centimetres. However, the wizard managed to get off his mirage spell at last and summoned the naked camel archers to distract the wagon rider. So they will do their job of blocking the wagon for 1 turn, hopefully, unless they're removed by something else. In combat on the hill, the Arab knights managed to finish off the lone Empire knights and then fell back sideways to threaten the wagon some more. In the elephant battle, the spearmen supporting the archers managed to defeat the knights, forced them away back from the elephant. I then pursued them and finished them off, killed them through volume of attacks. Unfortunately, they managed to take the elephant with them with the last throw of the dice. So that's the end of my elephants. The victorious archers and spearmen then advanced into the other unit of cavalry, which was in front of the hill. They got them in the flank and were able to destroy 2 stands in 2 rounds of combat as well. So this turn we have learned, if you want to get rid of Empire Knights, don't bother with elephants. All you need is infantry archers with support. And that was my turn 3. In Empire turn 4, the hero manages to order his large column of infantry back along the road. The wagon moves as close as it can get to the board edge, with the remaining Empire troops forming a screen around it. The crazed flagellants have to charge the nearby Arab archers on the hill, but they are repulsed with the loss of a stand on either side.
So my turn 4, I managed to get off 3 successive orders, so this column has moved all the way up the road to here and is now sort of threatening the rear of Ian's army. Hopefully if this game goes on at least a couple more turns, I'll get these in and they'll be able to help out, although I am very near my break point. The flagellants here were forced to charge on initiative, ran into these, killed a unit of archers, lost a stand themselves. Ian chose not to pursue them because if he breaks them and then has to charge into these and breaks these before he gets to the wagon, he will get 2 points for breaking my army, but I'm 3 up at the moment, so he'll still lose the game. So he's got to try and kill these and then capture the wagon and loot it before my army actually breaks. The wagon moved along the road, the 2 characters fell back with them, and the pistoliers fell back to protect the wagon from mainly the knights there. And that was my turn 4.
With the game hanging in the balance, the remaining Araby infantry move up as far as they can get. The Araby knights try to finish off the last wagon but just fall short, and the magic carpets move into shooting range to try and kill off the pistoliers once and for all. Can the mirage spell hold the wagon up for one more turn? Right, so this is Araby turn 4. It's all hanging in the balance now. So we moved our cavalry using the general up to threaten the last surviving wagon, but I couldn't quite get the order to kill it off, to charge it in combat. In fact, I rolled a 6/6 for that. The hero, meanwhile, did manage to move up the infantry brigades to come and threaten the flagellants. He also blundered with one of his rolls, and one of my spearmen units went charging off after the flagellants, but thankfully we're just out of range. The wizards managed to move the flying carpets up towards the pistoliers. They then shot the pistoliers and drove them back far enough into the wagon, which cunningly made way sideways off the road, forcing the pistoliers back into the mirage, which destroyed it, but did confuse them as well. So the wagon is now 1 ordered move away from winning the game. Unfortunately for me, I did try and counter it by casting Mirage again, but failed, and then in the shooting phase the flagellants survived the archer's shots into them. So the game hinges on 1 order from the general next turn, and that's turn 4. The Empire General successfully orders the last wagon off the board and into safety, effectively winning him the game there. The Empire lost 3 knights, half a unit of flagellants and 1 wagon full of cabbages. They score 6 points for their wagons that escaped, 1 full of beer, 1 full of skulls. While the Araby army lost 1 unit of elephants and half a unit of camel riders.
Okay, so on the final turn my flagellants had to initiative charge in here, and then it basically came down to a single dice roll. My general had to order the wagon off the board, which he did. He needed an 8 because of the proximity of the enemy, and he got it off on an 8, so I got the extra 3 points there and managed to win the game 6-0. It looks like sort of 6-0 looks like it was very one-sided, but this game was anything but one-sided. It could have so easily swung the other way. If Ian had have taken that wagon and then broke my army, he would have won the game. And it was a pretty close contest all the way through. I think although they've moved quite a way up the road, once I got my infantry wagon off, they were a long way then from the main battle, and it's taken them 3 turns just to slog it back up to here, and I've expended everything else just trying to protect the wagons to get them off. So if this has gone on for another turn or so, it was inevitable that I was going to be broken. Ian just needed to secure that wagon before he broke me. In all honesty, I didn't really kill very much of his army. I got the elephants, and I got half of the unit of camel riders, but not a great deal victory point wise. And I've had to expend my 3 units of knights plus most of the flagellants just to try and delay him and hold him up. So it's been a good close game. I've really enjoyed it. It's a great scenario, and yeah, I look forward to the next one.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun this game, and the 6-0 scoreline is quite severe, but as Steve said, it could very easily have been 5-3 in my favour if that last roll had gone differently. One thing to learn from this game is I didn't read the victory rules correctly. If I'd have known that I could have scored victory points for just destroying wagons in close combat rather than destroying and looting them, I probably wouldn't have shot one to death. But there you go, that's a lesson learned. So we'll take that forward for the next time we play the scenario, and we'll probably up it to 2,000 points next time. But yeah, I think the scenarios are a fantastic addition to Warmaster Compendium, and we hope to play a lot more of them in the future. Thanks for watching.